I want to, Kim Potter sentenced to 16 months in jail. Sort of glad it's not more. She fucked up. I don't know if she really meant to do it. I agree with the judge. I don't think there was like malice involved. It's like she seems remorseful. She seemed remorseful right at the time. She's like, "Oh fuck, I'm going to jail." Um, you know, 16 months is a long time. It's a year in jail. She's gonna have to be segregated too, so she's not gonna have any contact with anybody. They'll try and kill her. That's a year of seclusion. It's a lot of push-ups. It's a lot of push-ups. I mean, she killed the kid, you know. Um, and there's people that'll be like, well, the kid wasn't being compliant. That's true. That's true. The kid was not being compliant. And, it's a hectic scene. Um, and there's also could be the other side. Well, she killed the kid. 16 months isn't enough. I get that. I get both sides, but um, it's unfortunate for sure. Um, I see like a drunk driver that kills somebody, you know, is doing something much worse. That's like, oh, I'm just gonna drink and I don't care. I'm gonna, like most drunk drivers have already been drunk and driven their car. So I see that as much worse than what Kim Potter did. Kim Potter, you know, I wouldn't want to be a cop. I don't know. It sounds like a horrible job. Seriously, it sounds like a horrible job. But I do. I see the drunk drivers, like, they might as well, like, have loaded a gun. They're out driving around in 2,000 pounds of deadly steel. And I know that Kim Potter had a loaded gun and everything, but it um, wasn't premeditated. Clearly, it wasn't premeditated. Um, her life is fucked up. It's ruined now. That's I remember driving a cab and I got robbed a bunch of times. And one of the times I got robbed, I can't remember which one it was. My dad was telling me, get a handgun and take a handgun with you. My dad was about that. He had a curio and relic license, and he was like, just get a handgun, take a handgun with you. And I didn't do it. I didn't listen to my dad because I feel that people that have handguns, you have the handgun, you're gonna use it. That's what they're for. So I didn't get a handgun. There's no way. I think it was disappointing to my dad that I didn't. But I mean, like I'm a gun owner. I've always owned guns. My dad had a carry permit and always had a. He'd go someplace. He'd take it. I remember as a kid, we had a slaughterhouse as a kid, and I'd go with my dad to take the receipts to the bank at night or whatever. And we'd have to go around the back to do it. It was in Old Monroe, Missouri. It was a small town. My dad would have I forgot. Well, he had a 9 millimeter sometimes underneath the seat, and then he had God, what did he have? It was I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe a 38. And I asked my dad, like, what's the difference between the 9 millimeter and the 38? He always had like this attitude. Well, one will stop a big man, and the other will stop a bigger man, like that. That was my dad. He had guns all over the house. I only have like hunting guns to hunt with. So I was in about when I sort of I had PTSD after being robbed so many times in my cab. And the one time that really affected me, that this guy put a garrote around my neck. You know, I got 2 fingers in there. Um, I thought he was gonna, do me and then eat me or something. It was pretty scary. One other time that was scary was this dude that had a steak knife. I was out of the car and I was gonna take off, and when I turned, he like kicked the back of my leg, so I fell. So every time I got up, so I couldn't get away. And that should be your approach. I wasn't gonna fight somebody that had a knife that was out. I was gonna try and get away. You should try and get away first. And then my second approach was, the money's in the car, it's in the glove compartment, or it's in the ashtray. Take it. I got a wife and kids. That's what I said. That was my second approach, and that worked. And as soon as he went back to the car, I took off again. And then the cop showed up. But you have a handgun on you. You're probably going to use it. I'm all for having the police force. And let me say something. Facebook, there's probably a lot of people that aren't going to understand this statement, because when they talk about defunding the police, they talk about defunding them and refunding them, not we're not going to have a police force. And I think that there's a lot of confusion about that. That's like misinformation that's put out, that, oh, they mean like we're not going to have no, they talk about defunding them and refunding them so that the funding is allocated to different things. That's what they're talking about. Okay? YouTube too. It's not like we're not going to have a police force. No, it's just like they have to unfund them and refund them. That's what it is. And I'm all for having a police force, but I really don't know if we need to have police with sidearms. I'm not saying that they can't have weapons. Maybe have weapons in the car. And my suggestion, this would be if I ran for political office, might be to, instead of sending 2 police, right, you send 6 to overwhelm, sort of like they do in England. Now, I realized that, well, it might not cost that much more, because you're going to be refunding. So I know it bums people out when I say this, but that's how it is. So instead of sending 1 or 2 cops, you send 6. There's, to make it safer. It's like I worked as a bouncer at this place Harpo's in St. Louis. And when I worked the door, they always put me with a big dude, But they always put me with a big guy, because just my sheer size would sort of some people would think, well, it's a little dude. I'm not going to listen to him or whatever. But that was the approach, was there would be people like my size or a little bit bigger. Usually everybody was a little bit bigger. And you'd always have 2 or 3 people on a door. So if there's trouble, the person's overwhelmed. I don't care how big the dude is. If you're going against 2 guys, you got problems. You better be the size of Andre the Giant. And if you're going against 2 guys that are, they always put me with somebody that had no skills, that didn't have any training, but was giant. So, do you see what I'm saying? So I would go for the arms and control, and the big guy usually had the size. Sometimes I was with this one dude that knew karate and was big. Nobody screwed with him. I'll tell you why nobody screwed with him. It's because he was trained and he was big. So if somebody has training, they have this confidence that people pick up on. So generally speaking, there would be no problems at the door unless it was somebody that was hammered. And then you're dealing with a drunk, and that's a totally different story. That makes it real easy. So I just think that would be a better approach than having our police force, everybody having sidearms, they could equip them with non-lethal weapons and have weapons in the car, like long guns, if needed, um, and have an overwhelming force going to whatever the problem is. Like if it's domestic violence or something, you have 6 people going. No, you're going with us, and if it comes in on the call that the guy has the gun, well, then they take in guns with them. That's it. But they don't really need to have a sidearm on. And something that I've noticed about like some people that get guns in their hand, they have like this power to them. It sort of makes them go. I'm just going to talk about dogs in a minute, but it makes them go sort of like power hungry, and they become the tough guy. I've seen it. I've seen this. Like a friend of mine that is big but has no skills or something. You put a gun in it. I remember there was a problem with this dude. The guy was living with me, and there was a problem. And the dude came down and complained. I didn't really have a problem with this dude. I was just like, okay, we'll keep it down, like that. And the first thing that my friend that sort of became the tough guy was like, go get the gun. Like, what? What are you talking about? No, I'm not going to go get a gun. The guy he's just a big dude that was complaining because it was loud down here. Why would I do that? And my friend, the tough guy, was drinking, of course. Or I was sober. So I had a clear head. But this, Kim Potter, like, it was a huge mistake. She was clearly stressful job. I really don't know why anybody would want to be a cop. Not a friend of mine's a cop, or was a cop, Conrad, and this guy like had a story about like discharging his firearm early on. He told me this story like it was a bad situation, and that can happen. That can happen. You're a cop and, something bad, it happens. So I think that I have thought about running for office. I'm just telling you all, there's a Republican, I was going to run as an independent against this Republican guy, Tom Reed. Now he's going to be kicked out of office, I think. I haven't checked, but somebody else, a Democrat, ran against him and couldn't win. And at that time, I would have run Democrat, but like, I don't have really time for politics. I have art to make and dogs to train. But I've thought about all this stuff. I've thought about it. I'm sure there's somebody that has Oppo research on me and there's plenty. That's the thing about me is like, there's a lot of dirt on me, sure. I drank for years. I was a stinking drunk. I'll admit it. I'll tell you the stories. I will. They're out there. People will tell you the stories. So there's not really anything to like, it's all public record. But what dirt can you really, I'm not the best guy, but I'm not the worst either. I would never hit a woman. There's not going to be anything like that. I've never had a DWI. I had enough common sense not to get in a car drunk and drive. So there's, some stuff about me, but like not the worst stuff. So I was considering it, running against this guy, using my YouTube channel to do my own advertisement against this guy, Tom Reed. But then Tom Reed, there's been like, last year and a half, 2 years, there's been like some kind of issues with sexual something. I don't know really what he did. I just heard about it and I was just like, well, that's good. I don't have to run against Tom. I never liked him anyway because like I have a problem with some of the people that are in office right now, just what they're doing. Like I see some people that are in office as patriotic. I know this is gonna hurt. Facebook. There's probably some people on Facebook that aren't gonna get what I say because you're not getting information the right place. But I do see Cheney as somebody that is doing her job and is a patriot. And I wanna know what happened on January 6th, because that was not normal. Um, that wasn't people just being, exercising their rights to, I forgot what was put up by the RNC, but it was absurd. It was like, it was just, that wasn't what was happening. That was an insurrection perpetrated by, it looks like, some people in office. Um, so I don't want to go into political office. I will if I have to. Um, but I don't think I'm gonna have to. Um, I am a I'm a conservative guy, but I also have like progressive views for sure. I don't care what anybody is. Why? Why? What do I care if you're straight or gay or trans? I don't care, man. Are you a decent person? That's all I need to know. Um, I abortion is horrible. It's horrible. Nobody wants an abortion, but it seems like a necessary evil, sort of. And I know a lot of other Republicans that, and I'm not saying I'm a Republican anymore. I'm not saying that right now. But I'm a conservative person. But I know other conservative people that feel that way too. And there's a lot of hypocrites in the world, you know. Oh, our daughter's 18. She's pregnant. She was going to college. You're getting an abortion, you know. Hypocritical. But then when it's somebody else, no, we don't want. And the people that are making up the laws are like these old white dudes. Come on, man. White conservative dudes. A woman has a right to choose her own path, sort of. And if she has, somebody knows if they're not equipped to have a kid. They know. And what's the sense of putting the kid in that position and the adult in that position? Come on. And I don't know. I'm going to talk about dog training now. Now, aggressive dogs are difficult to deal with. A lot of people have problems. That is the most common problem that we have with dogs, is aggression. Hands down. That is the number one behavioral problem with dogs. Now, that could be leash aggression. That could be dog-dog aggression. That could be dog-people aggression. That could be food aggression. That could be resource guarding. But it's aggression. It's aggression, flat out. And it's difficult for the owner to deal with because, one, the dog isn't trained, okay? Two, the owner doesn't understand the dog that they have. They think that love is enough, or just getting angry at the dog is enough, and it's not. Your dog can read you. They can read black and white. They either see you as being happy or pissed off. That's it. It's very basic. So the owner that has the aggressive dog doesn't get it, usually because they love the dog and they think that love is enough for the dog, and it's not. Now, I see it's so common that people that allow their dogs in the bed, sleep with their dogs, have problems with leash aggression. They're on the street and the dog starts being a dick. That is so common. Every time I'm contacted by somebody that has this issue going on, I say, well, do you let your dog sleep in the bed? Yeah. Well, that's a problem. That's one of them, I'm sure. And then I'll go down the list of things that confuse the status of your dog. Meaning your dog views itself as an equal, and your dog should never view itself as an equal. This is a human society, and your dog must be compliant in the human world. If it's not, it's going to get the needle or end up in the system and just have problem after problem its whole life. So the problem is the owner that has done that has allowed their dog to sleep in the bed, that they can't get the dog acting normal again, or they just keep letting the dog sleep in the bed. You have to get the dog out of the bed and the owner has to change. If the owner doesn't change, the dog doesn't change. You have to change your behavior to change the dog's behavior. That's hands down. So they have the dog that's already doing it, and they can't evict the problem. And because they can't evict the problem, they're like, well, might as well let the dog sleep in the bed. See, it's not making any difference. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I say this, don't let your dog sleep in the bed. They're already letting the dog sleep in the bed. The dog already has the aggression. And they stop letting the dog sleep in the bed for a week or something. They think that it's going to change. No, there's more to it than that. You have to train the dog and evict the problem. That takes time. When dogs come here for a board and train, like even adults now, I insist upon 90 days. I got a dog down there that I'm taking to Home Depot today. It's going to be the first day that this dog is going to be out in public. And this dog had separation anxiety, has leash aggression issues, clearly was confused. They gave him people food, meaning they didn't give the dog the plate. This is true. What they did was they have a baby. Never get a dog if you're going to have a baby or you have a baby. Don't get a puppy. You got your hands full. But they had a baby. You know, they got the dog. They're dealing with it. They're dealing with it by having me deal with it. The kid's in the high chair. The kid's throwing the food on the floor. The dog is sitting off to the side, being compliant. And then when the baby's done eating, they release the dog, and the dog gets to go and clean up after the baby. They food train the dog. They just didn't. The baby's handing the food to the dog, and while the dog is sitting there in the corner being compliant, and then they release it, what they do is they take that excited mind and they reinforce it. It's just the same as clicker training the damn poodle or food training the damn poodle. You don't need to train with food. And that's what they did indirectly. Do you understand? They're decent people, man. The guy actually trained the dog to do some things, but they also trained the dog to do really fucked up things. So it doesn't matter if your dog can do a bunch of stuff, but it acts like a jerk in front of people. I saw this. I had the dog on the porch. The UPS guy walked up. Dog started going off. When I picked up the dog, he told me this. He said, yeah, another problem that we had, there was a list of problems that they had with the dog. One of them was like, if people walk up to us, the dog starts going off on the people. That's not good. First they bark, they lunge, and then they bite. Okay, so I saw it. I saw him going off on the UPS guy like, oh, this is screwed up. So the person that like can actually train their dog to sit or something, you know, as an implied stay, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to train the dog to do something just horrible. People, he didn't mean to do it. The wife didn't mean to do it. They're human. People are born with this thing, and you use your human experiences, but your human experiences do not work on a non-human, okay? They don't work on the non-human. So just because you have the ability to train the dog to sit as an implied stay doesn't mean that you're going to have the ability to evict a problem that is ingrained on a dog like this poodle that is really persistent. It's a very persistent dog. So you get this problem going, and then they're like, what do we do? I've trained the dog, you know, and they also train it to do bad shit. But, you know, and I love the dog. And that's what people say before they get rid of the dog. Well, I gave that dog everything, meaning I gave the dog everything except what they needed. They're paying me to give the dog what it needed so that they can jump back in and, you know, do what I do, clone themselves into me. Now, a better situation would be to have sent the dog here at 8 weeks. None of this would be going on. Unless the dog went home at like, say 5 months, 5.5 months, and then they started food training the dog. But don't start doing this with your young dog and the older dog. Let me make this perfectly clear. This old adage, like, You know, something about like old dogs not be able to learn, or this bullshit. Any dog can learn. Any dog can be taught. It doesn't matter what the age of the dog is. You just teach them in a different way. The young puppy, I might be training. Justin Anthony, why do you want to be in my video? Why? Do you have some kind of, people do not understand you can't eliminate unwanted behavior with reinforcement, positive or negative. You must use, hang on, I can't see this. I can't see this, and you don't need to be in my video. So I'm going to continue talking and ignore this stuff on Facebook. How do you prevent, hang on. How do you prevent food aggression? Well, training your dog, man. The dog's aggressive with its food. That's like resource guarding. Do you give it bones? Do you give it stuff like that? Your dog doesn't need that. Now, when they're puppies, you can give them a deer antler or whatever, but it doesn't have as high a value. If you give like bones, it has a real high value. The dog's gnawing on it all the time. You know, it's just gnawing and gnawing, and then you get close to it, and then all of a sudden the dog has food aggression. And also make your dog compliant. Is your dog fully trained? You have some kind of food aggression with your dog? Your dog isn't fully trained. If your dog was fully trained, this wouldn't be going on, because the first time that your dog growled, you'd be like, no, sit! Don't ever growl at me, dick! Down! Do you understand? You didn't train your dog. You have food aggression with the dog. You've done more than one wrong thing. I cannot give you a sentence. I can't wave my magic wand and tell you what. I can just say generally, you need to train the dog. You need to make sure that no is conditioned in, and any sign of any type of aggression, you respond instantly. You have 1.3 seconds to respond to that dog positive or negatively. That is it. If you do not respond, you might as well be training the dog to do it. You can't just be there like a deer caught in the headlights. Oh my God, my dog's growling at me. You better knock that crap off. They don't understand language. They understand tone. They do not understand language. Your dog's name is not important to the dog. The dog's name is used to release the dog. It's a retrieve. Your dog's sitting. It's calm. You release it on the retrieve with its name. Bosco. Or whatever the dog's name is. They don't understand their name. If there were two dogs with the same name and you were sending them on a retrieve, they would both go for it. Or they're just going to be confused when you use their name. Bosco, come here. Both Boscos are going to come. With that said, you can use whatever word you want with the dog. And I've done this on YouTube. People have seen me do this on YouTube with many dogs. I'll have Tonka out there, and I'll be using the kennel. And instead of saying kennel, I'm saying milk, cheddar cheese, car driving down the street, Johnny J. Johnson. The dog is functioning with whatever word I say. It's hearing my tone. It hears my tone. They don't understand language. If you want to use expletives with your dog, which I do, they don't know. You could say, you damn stupid idiot. If you say that to a human, you're abusive. If you say that to a dog, it does not matter. You say that to a human, a child, you're a jerk. You're a jerk. You're a lousy human being. You say it to your dog, so what? You can say to your dog, you can say, I'm gonna get the chancla, you know, or I'm gonna get the belt. I don't recommend you do that with your kids, by the way. It's sort of meaningless. They're just hearing the term. I'm gonna beat you with a stick. I'm going to get a switch. Your dog doesn't know what you're saying. They're hearing tone. Oh, he's pissed. I did something fucked up. Okay? So, your dog is non-human. You're never going to fix your dog that has issues by thinking like a human. You have to find a professional that is experienced. That is not somebody that went to ABC food training school, okay? And that's an unrealistic approach to, I'm going to be purely positive with my dog. Those purely positive people get frustrated and they aren't purely positive. So you better find somebody that knows how to condition in the negative. No. No is what we use to tell the dog it's in the improper position or it's doing something wrong. They need to have that conditioned in. Now, I'm taking a dog that's been aggressive in the past into public, and I'll tell you what, this dog is going to behave. And that's what I want to talk about is I have this right in my head. I'm going there, and I've already said, like, this, you will be submissive. I'm saying this to myself. You will be submissive. You will be compliant. And when I walk into Home Depot, I'm on that dog like stink on catfish. I wouldn't do this first session being tired. I've been drinking coffee. I'm going to take a shower before this. I'm going to be on my game. And that's many times how it is like I'm doing something in particular today. I need it to go right. And so I push through it, knowing that I am going to build on success. You cannot build on anything other than success. Negativity does not work with the dog. And dog training is about muscle memory. Repetitious and muscle memory. And when you're talking about evicting a problem, it's about the level of pressure used, not too high, not too low. There's a lot of variables there. And consistency. You have a dog that's barking consistently, you have to do things. You have to lose sleep. You have to well, I don't want to get up and deal with it. I'm sleeping. You better get up and deal with it or else you're going to be dealing with that for the rest of your life. That's why people pay me. I get up in the middle of the night and take the puppy out. You have to be on your game if you're going to do this. And I'm just telling you, hang on. When people contact me or anybody says anything like in a chat on YouTube or Facebook, it's, I have an aggressive dog. Can you give me some pointers? My pointer is to contact me, spend some money, and have me fix the dog. I can't give you a pointer with an aggressive dog. It doesn't matter. A tip, a free tip. I don't want you getting bit. I don't want anybody getting hurt. It's not that simple. You're cheap. You don't want to spend money on dog training. You don't have the ability to do it. Why do I know? It's because you got the dog in a situation where it's aggressive. And even if you didn't, if the dog, you adopted the dog, right? And it's aggressive. Well, we don't really know if you caused it or the other people caused it. The point is that it's aggressive and you don't have the ability to get it to stop. So asking for a free tip on your dog that is aggressive is unrealistic. So right there, I know it's an unrealistic person. The dogs stay with a professional trainer here for 90 days. They learn everything. Sit down, whoa, here, heel, kennel. All taught as implied stays, weed pulls, retrieves, reverse retrieves, dummy launcher, and problems are evicted. That's 90 days. And that's like me being super consistent. The dog owner that has a problem with the dog, that has a job, can't do what I do because they don't have the ability. They have to go to work or something, or they got their kid or their old lady giving them shit, or their old man giving them shit, whatever it may be. You can't do it. You have an aggressive dog. I always say board and train only for a reason. Don't be unrealistic. And if you get a dog, a puppy, I'll tell you something, this is a strange statistic, but dogs, generally speaking, you talk to other dog trainers, most of the dogs that I get are pedigree. People that spend money on a dog want to get the dog trained so that they can jump back in, start working with the dog while it's still a puppy. That's smart. That's being smart. They got all their ducks in a row. I'm contacted before they even pick up the dog. They're like, yeah, I'm going to get the dog. I'm going to try and do it for 3 weeks. Usually they're calling me after a week, like, this is harder than I thought. And so I get the dog when it's a puppy, and then, that way problems aren't happening. People do stupid things with their dog. Like, yes, I train service dogs. All dogs I'm training to do physical assist service dog stuff. Okay? And, hang on, I got to do something here. People are just... It's the amount of troll stuff on the internet is ridiculous. Trolling other troll stuff, it's just like unbelievable. All right. There you go. Bye. Bye. All right. Where was I? Okay, so what I'm saying is, like, before I'm gonna move on. Before I taking Merlin to Home Depot, I've already had this in my head, and that's how it is with a lot of things that I do with dogs. Is I get it like, today we're gonna do the dummy launcher. The dog is gonna do it. I already know the dog is gonna do it because I got it right in my head. Today, I'm going to have the dog pick up the object off the ground, and it's going to do a retrieve. And I already know the dog's going to do it because when I go out there, I'm like, the dog's going to do it. It's about that, my attitude more than anything. If I don't have this right in my head, it ain't going to happen. And a lot of it has to do with my confidence level as a dog. I'm 58 years old. I was around animals when I was a kid. I was around dogs when I was a kid. We had a horse. My mother, this was always encouraged, Peter, with animals. I fell off a cliff when I was a kid, and my mother read me Dr. Dolittle. This is true. After I came out of the hospital, and I remember asking my mom, like, why can't we communicate with animals? She said something like, well, you can, but they're just not going to speak to you like I would speak to you, like a human. But they speak back to you. You just have to, like, watch them. So from that point on, after I fell off the cliff, I came to all 3 of the things that I wanted to do. And that's to be, like, in first grade, like, I saw the Van Gogh Museum. I wanted to be an artist. I was watching Johnny Carson late at night. I wanted to be a comic. And I wanted to work with animals. So it's Arrested Development, clearly, but that's the way that it is. So you're just, I'm 58 years old. I'm keyed into this more than most people. So I'm keyed into it more than I was when I was back in my drinking days. Say when I was drinking in my 20s. I was not that good of a dog owner. I could train a dog, but I was a drunk. So that doesn't work well for dogs, for sure. You're an alcoholic, you know you're an alcoholic, your dog is putting up with it, and anybody else that's around you is putting up with it. I urge you to quit. Your life will be better because of it. I'm not saying life is perfect. My life can be real rough at times, but drinking only exacerbates the issues. So stop if you can't stop, talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Maybe they can give you some advice. If you don't have a doctor, maybe go to the emergency room. Right? You don't have money. You could go to the emergency room and maybe they can, you know, help you quit. I didn't have the luxury of having I didn't have any money. It was either quit or die. So I just kind of cold turkeyed it myself, which I don't recommend because cold turkey is dangerous when you're coming off of a depressant. So I urge you to contact a doctor. Don't do it like me. Do as I say, not as I did. But you have to have it right in your head. Even with drinking, I quit drinking, I got it right in my head. Same thing with the dogs. I know before I go out there that it's going to happen. And even if it doesn't go perfectly, it's going in the direction of the dog is being compliant. It's not going horrible. And I know that I can shape this positive behaviors into something that's real tight. So and I'm not going to overwhelm the dog when we go to Home Depot. When we go to Home Depot, I'm walking around there. I want the dog to be compliant. This time we're not going to walk right up to anybody, I don't think. Unless it's going real good, I might stay 10 feet away and ask them a question. Maybe, maybe not, probably not. I might have good luck in Home Depot and go, okay, let's go to Walmart now. I'm going to play it by ear, but I know that I'm not going to have, the dog ain't going to be going ape shit. The dog ain't going to be getting at the end of its lead, going after anybody. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to put up with it. Oh, thank you for the stars. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. That's Facebook. You have to have it right in your head. And I can't say this enough. It's like people saying, well, what kind of e-collar do you recommend? Well, I use an e-collar technologies, but I'm not recommending you get an e-collar because a lot of times owners that get e-collars, man, the dogs come here like they tried using them and the dog's heated up, so I have to use the collar way too hot. If the dog comes to me and I get to collar condition the dog properly, you can use it way under where a human feels it. That's if you have an e-collar technologies. If you buy one of these cheap Chinese collars off of Amazon, you can't use it under where a human feels it because they're just way too hot. So know that. But I see this like the persistent dog, and then the person thinks, oh, I'm gonna get a e-collar, and then the dog comes here and I'm working with the dog and the dog isn't responding at a normal level, like a lower level. You gotta dial it up and start bringing it back down. Merlin, I know that he got an e-collar technologies collar. I don't really know what the extent of it was, but I'm using this collar higher than I do on most dogs. Now, it is a high drive dog. It's a persistent dog. That's true. But I mean, like, I'm using it pretty high up in situations where, like, Tonka's a high drive hunting dog. If the high drive hunting dog is real active, you might have to dial up on the collar. If the hunting dog is in the crate, you would dial it way down. So if the dog's running full blast or something, you might have to dial it up a little bit, for lack of a better term. So the owner that's frustrated, and I don't know if this is what happened with Merlin. I don't. The guy's a decent guy, and he's human. So he might have been frustrated and put the collar on like, I'm going to get the dog to shut up. So I don't recommend people getting e-collars and trying this. You don't know what you're doing. I've seen it too many times. Do you have any tips to know if it... I want to get my dog trained by you. Hang on. it's a ridiculous statement. I wanted to get my dog trained by you. However, it isn't viable at this moment due to the distance. Do you have any tips if a trainer is actually good at what they do? Merlin's from Canada, dude. I have dogs that come from Europe. You're bullshitting me, okay? I have dogs that come from all over the United States. Get out of here, man. No, I don't have any tips for you to find a dog trainer. And I don't recommend anybody but Robert Masters. What's your problem? Oh, other people can get their dog to me, but you can't. Okay. All right. I have a dog coming from Utah, but you can't get your dog to me. Why? Because it's in Arizona? Get out of here, man. No, I don't have any tips, okay, for finding a dog trainer. You're not going to find anybody like me or Robert, so get lost. Sorry. It's just so obnoxious. Back to e-collars. So I don't recommend people getting them because you don't know what you're doing. There's a lot of nuances to using an e-collar. And I can't just say, well, man, I've tried live streaming with people and trying, it doesn't work. You have to actually teach the dog to turn off the e-collar, one, and the dog has to really respond well to the commands, and then you have to condition all the commands in with it for the e-collar to function properly. You're not going to know how to do it. There is no magic wand. I cannot explain it with a simple sentence, and that's the problem, is people want some cheap, easy solution for their problem dog, and there isn't one. It's about repetition. It's about time being spent. It's about knowing what you're doing and knowing that you're arrogant because you caused the problem to begin with. I won't even do private lessons that are not you are a jerk. I don't care what anybody is, and I don't care about Utah. Okay? I don't care what anybody's religion is. Why would I care? Why do you care? You're a loser, man. Let people think what they want, okay? What do you care what my opinion is? I don't care what religion anybody is. That's your belief. You want to believe that nonsense? Go ahead. Don't worry about it, Shirley. I appreciate your ability to get rid of people on YouTube. You just don't have the ability to get the dog in a decent place. You were unrealistic to begin with. You didn't get the dog trained. Or there's people that think that dog training, they can go to PetSmart and that's going to help. That's going to make matters worse. Or go to a puppy class and think that that's going to help train your dog. You better be real careful. You get involved with some kind of idiot that is into purely positive dog training, you're going to have issues with your dog. You shouldn't be looking for oh, they're a nice person. You look for somebody that's competent, that tells you what you don't want to hear. You go with a dog trainer that tells you what you want to hear. Oh, you mean we can train the dog purely positively? Oh yeah, I'll take your puppy class. And then they reel up and like and then they try and sell you on their advanced dog training, which their advanced dog training is clicker training. Let me tell you something about clickers. Do you know what a clicker is? It's a mechanical device to tell your dog good or good girl. That's it. You can't say good or good girl or yes. You have to use it. You're being ripped off, people. Our society has this unrealistic approach to dogs. Doesn't matter if you basically get it. You have to get it in its totality, or you end up with like a great dog like Merlin that I got to take in Home Depot today, and he better behave. And I tell this to people that I train their dog in lessons. I do. I say this during the lessons. They're having issues. I'm like, When you're going to sleep at night, you lay in bed and you visualize training your dog and visualize what you're going to do when the dog isn't functioning properly and what you're going to do. Dog training takes discipline, and people with discipline do well with dogs. People that are undisciplined do terrible with dogs. People that are involved in MMA, anything like that, do great with dogs. If you talk to your dog trainer, ask them if they've ever taken any martial arts, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. And if they haven't, you're probably dealing with a food trainer. You want me to tell you a statistical fact of food trainers that I know in New York City? This is true. This is true. Out of all the food trainers that I personally know, every one of them was involved in the sex industry at some point. What's that? Like dominatrix or like sex therapist, or what's that? I thought it was pretty strange. And then if you talk to balance trainers, man, a lot of them have been involved in martial arts. A group, and listen, I don't have any problem with anybody being involved in the sex industry. I've known strippers, I've lived with a couple dominatrixes that tell me stories. I'm like, well, whatever. I found it interesting. That's all I found. It was like interesting. Nobody I ever wanted to date, because we were just so different that we were just like friends, But it just, there's like, I'm not saying that that's not work. That's real difficult work, right? But it's just using like your sexuality. That's it. Where other things require physical discipline, like martial arts. It's just a fact. So if you're somebody that can be physically disciplined, you're going to do good with your dog. If you're somebody that can't be physically disciplined, go to college, do all that stuff. And it's not just one thing. People that make art can be really disciplined. It's a fact. It's not just MMA. It's just like you have to have some kind of discipline. If you're undisciplined, it doesn't go well. And I really don't know about that statistic of the food trainers that I know in New York City, why it's like that, but it is. I'm not making that up. I find it really strange. And I don't have a problem with people that work in the sex industry. I don't. But it is sort of like a mindset. Well, I'm just, I'm attractive or whatever, and I'm going to use my sexuality to make money. It's like a mindset that some people have, like, for whatever reason. It could be that they're desperate. This is the one thing that I have. I can go get a job and make money. But some things in life are difficult. And some things that are really worthwhile are difficult, like your dog. And that takes discipline. Dogs are not easy. You don't get a dog because it's convenient. Dogs are not about convenience. You don't go get a pet food bag, a bag of kibble. You feed your dog a raw diet, and you do like I do and use chicken leg quarters as its main staple. Sometimes that's a hassle. Oh, Walmart didn't have any leg quarters. If you have one dog, you have no excuse for not having your dog on a raw diet. One dog. Don't say it's more expensive. It's just a bunch of BS. It's cheaper. It's cheaper than dog food, and it's better for your dog. And it isn't the raw meat diet. Okay, your dog has to be getting extra calcium with this, or you're going to screw the dog up. It'll leach the calcium it needs from its own bones. So that's why one of the reasons vets don't recommend raw diet is because people are idiots. And I've switched dogs over to raw diet where they're here. Dogs go home, and then they're saying, yeah, the dog has diarrhea. Why? What are you feeding the dog? Well, I went up there and got a turkey, ground turkey. Well, that doesn't have any bone in it, idiot. Did you add calcium, idiot? Did you? No, you didn't. Did you listen to a damn word I said? No. I had to think about this one person in particular. She was an idiot. Seriously. Trained her dog. Man, I sat there and talked for an hour about raw diet. Through one ear and out the other. So you can't just give your dog raw meat, okay? Protein, fat, and bone. And if you give them a protein that doesn't have bone, you have to add calcium. And if you add calcium, you have to add calcium without D3. And you don't use bone meal. Bone meal's not so good because it's a cooked product, and cooked bone is an irritant to your dog. That's why one of the reasons dog food is so bad. They use bone meal because it's cheap. You can buy the most expensive dog food in the world. It's no better than the cheap dog food. Don't fool yourself. Somebody's asking me, what does, somebody's really unrealistic. What exactly do the dogs need on a raw diet if they wanted to switch her from dog food? Well, you should probably do a Skype with me and pay for it. You know, you're another unrealistic person. I just talked about the basic needs: protein, fat, and bone. And you were asking that question? See, this is a problem with people. Like, they get a dog and they're arrogant and they don't listen. It's absurd. I just went through it. Yeah, no D3. That's right, Eric. No D3 in the calcium. You can add calcium, use calcium citrate that has no D3 in it. And if you go to like Walmart or the pharmacy, you'll see a lot of different calciums. Most of them will say with D3, find one without D3. Because D3 is fat soluble. It'll store up in your dog. And that D3 is the same amount of D3 for a human being. It's not going to be the same amount for your canine. And you're going to have serious problems. Don't do it. D3 is also used in some rodenticides. They put a mega dose of D3 in it. And the rat bleeds out. So what I'm saying is your dog needs D3, but it doesn't need it in the form of this, calcium that's for a human. All right? So just use calcium without D3. It's real. It's not that difficult. People overthink a lot of stuff. Man, I had this guy here that was training this dog, this Australian cattle dog. I like the guy. I love the dog. But he overthought everything. It's like I've never seen anything like this. It was a deer caught in the headlights because he was constantly thinking and rethinking, am I doing this right? You have to do it until it becomes instinctual. That's why people that do MMA, they know this. They practice. Practice makes perfect. Without practicing, if you practice, you get your dog. It does a board and train. And you go home and practice with the dog after the lessons we do for 3 or 4 days, and that's it. But you don't have discipline. That's a bad sign. You think that was it. That's all you need to do. Training's a lifetime of your dog. You paid for the ability to get your dog conditioned so that it'll function better for you, and you work with the dog trainer, and it's functioning good with you and the dog trainer. You go home, you better keep practicing for a long time. Some owners are better than others. I think about like the ex-cop I was talking about. Wow. He came here, he practiced holding the leash, because you got to hold the leash a certain way, in the hotel room. This is like, he got it. The dog started functioning for him. Dog stopped looking at me. He knew. And man, I still get videos this day of the dog functioning great, doing scent work, you know, dummy launcher retrieves. He works with the dog. He uses discipline. It's a disciplined guy. He uses discipline, making the dog function properly. Discipline isn't about beating the dog or hitting the dog. It's about, you're doing it wrong, do it right. No, sit. No, heel. That's discipline. Discipline with you, same thing. You wake up, you go to the gym. Discipline is not just eating whatever you want, or smoking whatever you want, or drinking whatever you want. Discipline is saying, no, I can't do that. I can't just do this daily. It's not good. That's discipline. Okay? And you have to use discipline with your dog. Like I said, like, man, you could be whoever. You know, you could do whatever job, or you're a disciplined person. If you're undisciplined and you just say, like, you say sit to the dog and the dog's not sitting and you don't respond, you're undisciplined and the dog's just going to keep doing that. And the dog's going to go, it's going to be like your garden that you don't weed. It just gets worse and worse. So you have to be very specific with the dog. You've got to be at a proper heel going straight forward. Like I saw a dog that was here. This owner was working with the dog, and, you know, it's just like, come on, man. We already went over this shit. Don't send the dog unless the dog's at a proper fucking heel. She was being undisciplined or thinking that it doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. You have the dog going straight forward and sitting, not out to the side. You have to check yourself and know that you're going to screw up as the owner that's just had 4 or 5 lessons. And you have to catch yourself screwing up and register it in your mind. I'm doing this wrong. You can't walk into the house and get the dog excited and hand wrestle with the dog and think everything's going to go okay. Treat your dog like it's a service dog. It's how all dogs should be treated, like they're a service dog. Don't let strangers pet your dog. Okay? So I got to get ready. I do. I got to get ready. And so I got to take Merlin to Home Depot. So maybe I'll live stream it. I don't know. And play it by ear. I'll see you. Thanks, everyone.